It's fun because things are actually happening. Very different than most of the time when people get elected.
And I will shut down the Federal Department of Education, and we will move everything back to the state.
Most of the time when people get elected, they claim all these things when they're running for president. Then they get into office and not much changes.
Individualize education and do it with the love for their children.
And in fact, a lot of what they campaigned on, they don't practice at all. Great example is the Obama administration. The Hope and Change website had to be changed because there was a bunch of stuff in there about whistleblowers.
No, I don't think Mr. Snowden was a patriot. I called for a thorough review of our surveillance operations before Mr. Snowden made these leaks. My preference would have been for a lawful, orderly examination of these laws.
Protecting whistleblowers, which they didn't do at all. It was one of the worst administrations for whistleblowers.
Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet-David systematically dismantle Barack Obama's carefully cultivated image, exposing deep cracks behind the polished speeches, soaring rhetoric, and ultimately empty promises. They rip apart his record, highlighting failed policies, a legacy steeped in division, and an obsession with personal branding that consistently overshadowed genuine leadership. In their blunt critique, the illusion of Obama as an untouchable icon collapses, leaving behind not a visionary statesman, but a hollow figure who sold America hope and delivered chronic disappointment. The myth doesn't merely fade into the background, it gets shredded, dismantled, and obliterated beyond recognition.
Obama, during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy.
I don't understand how we got so toxic, so divided, and so bitter.
He said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that.
Did you have a high opinion of him before?
Yeah, I did just as an intelligent person, a statesman. He's probably caught up in the system. It's very difficult to make real meaningful change. You think you're going to do something and then you get into office and you're like, oh God, what a quagmire this place is. But watching him just straight up lie about Trump.
The childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
The thing that got me was that very fine people thing, the white supremacist thing. They just kept trying to say that he was a racist.
When he's not complaining, he's trying to sell you stuff. You're running for president and you're hawking merchandise. Gold sneakers, $100,000 watch. Why are you selling the watch? What are you doing?
Which is this thing that I think worked in 2017. I don't think it works anymore. I don't think people believe it anymore. We've gotten numb to all this stuff.
Talking to Rogan, and Joe says, look, let's face it, Obama was one of our best presidents we've had. When him and I are, I'm paraphrasing, to now switching from that was just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe even a year ago, to now this message here. Go ahead, Rob.
We did trust the government, but which is such a weird thing to say. I used to think it was the Obama administration. But boy, Obama during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy.
Barack Obama has spent years coasting on an image so polished it practically blinded people to the cracks beneath. He was the president who promised hope, change, unity, and progress. But when Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet-David rip into him, that illusion shatters almost instantly. Obama isn't the flawless icon his supporters revere. He's the politician who perfected presentation while fumbling on substance. A man who built an entire brand on effortless charisma, yet left behind a legacy that reads less like triumph and more like a long, cautionary tale.
Can I get a glass of water? This is not a prank. You never seen it?
No.
It's amazing. He gets a glass of Flint tap water. I swear to God, he drinks it like this. Watch this.
Can I get some water? I'm still waiting for my water. I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say that.
It's 100% a stunt. When was the last time a president stopped a speech to ask, can I get a glass of water? No, you bring water on stage.
Rogan doesn't waste a second pretending Obama was some untouchable figure. He tears into how Obama floated into the presidency on catchy slogans instead of concrete solutions. Obama didn't win because of groundbreaking policies. He won because he mastered the art of sounding good. He wasn't a statesman, he was a salesman. A man who treated speeches like products, packaging inspiration as if it were action. He understood that delivering lines with a calm, cool tone could hypnotize crowds into believing they just witnessed greatness. But as Rogan drives home, speeches don't feed families, slogans don't secure borders, and charisma sure doesn't pay the bills. Obama sold the dream, cashed the check, and left America nursing a massive political hangover it still hasn't recovered from.
There is what Obama said on the same video. There is what Trump actually said. It's disgusting. It's a disgusting lie. And he's talking about George Washington. He said George Washington had slaves. Let's play it.
On both sides of a white supremacist rally.
You had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down a very, very important statue from Robert E. Lee to another name. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Excuse me, how about Thomas Jefferson? Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists.
The news has said that lie over and over and over and over and over again. The mainstream corporate-controlled news that wanted this narrative said that over and over and over again. They repeated.
Patrick Bet-David sharpens the blade even further. He calls out the arrogance baked into the Obama brand, the smugness that dripped from every perfectly staged appearance. Obama didn't just campaign, he cultivated a full-blown cult of personality. He sold himself as history's chosen one, a man above politics, a symbol of everything America supposedly needed. But behind the slick marketing lay mediocrity, dressed up in eloquence. Bet-David doesn't pull punches. Obama was less a leader and more an influencer, a pioneer of style over substance politics who turned the presidency into a carefully scripted performance piece rather than a seat of real leadership.
Tell me what place Trump wouldn't go to on media where they would trash him. Where would he not go to? Would he not go to CNN? Would he not go to MSNBC? Would he not go to Jimmy Fallon? Would he not go to Jimmy Kimmel? Would he not go to... He went everywhere, right? Now, let me flip this on you. How many times have you seen Obama, Clinton, Hillary, any of those guys
Biden
go on Fox ever? How many times? The answer is never.
And the failures weren't hidden. They were glaring, impossible to ignore. Take healthcare, Obama's so-called signature achievement. It was sold as a miracle fix. Lower costs, better access, security for every family. Instead, it devolved into a bureaucratic nightmare that left millions frustrated, overpaying, or outright losing coverage. Obama's lofty promises collapsed the moment reality arrived. Rogan rips the hypocrisy wide open. A president who swore you could keep your doctor, keep your plan, and save money ended up delivering the exact opposite. That wasn't transformation. It was deception dressed up in good lighting, polished speeches, and well-timed applause lines.
I think the best people age the hardest. I think Obama was probably like a very idealistic young man.
Oh, Lord, what's going on now? Who's hollering? I can't even see it.
Who really wanted to change the world. And that dude aged more than anybody.
I mean, I'm getting old, so I can't hear that well. I can't see that good.
Who aged the least? Trump just...
This is something that...
he just brushed that shit off his shoulders like it was nothing.
Foreign policy. Bet-David practically laughs at the notion that Obama was some enlightened strategist. His record is littered with disasters. ISIS rising from the vacuum, Libya collapsing into chaos, Syria humiliating America as he drew a red line only to erase it with cowardice. Obama stepped back when strength was required and meddled when restraint would have been wiser. He didn't deliver peace, he left a trail of disorder. The Nobel Peace Prize he collected before accomplishing anything wasn't merely ironic, it was a cosmic punchline. Obama loved the adoration, but applause isn't leadership. He wanted the legacy of a visionary, yet vision without execution is pure delusion. Bet-David crushes the myth of Obama as a unifier. He didn't heal divisions, he deepened them. Race relations frayed, trust in government collapsed, political polarization hardened. Obama preached endlessly about unity, yet his leadership left Americans more fractured than ever. He wasn't a bridge builder at all. He was a divider draped in elegant rhetoric, creating fertile ground for resentment to thrive. And when that anger erupted, he acted bewildered, as if it weren't his own failures fueling the fire.
These guys, because America to me is movies, but they got arrogance. And they moved like they're going to control you forever. Abusive policies, the LGBTQ agenda, the woke policies. And by the way, Peter Thiel said it best when he was on a podcast with Barry Weiss. He said, you realize when Musk got up and he says, this is the most monumental election of all time. Peter Thiel, who's a billionaire, very important guy behind closed doors.
And then there's the Democratic Party itself. Obama was supposed to represent its unstoppable future, the leader who would cement Democratic dominance for decades. Instead, the entire structure crumbled beneath him. By the time he walked out of the White House, Democrats had lost the House, the Senate, and a historic number of state legislatures and governorships. Bet-David makes it crystal clear. Obama was the smiling face of Democratic decay, the man who looked polished and presidential while his party collapsed around him. He lectures Americans about climate change from the comfort of private jets. He warns about economic hardship while pocketing millions and speaking fees and book deals. Rogan doesn't even need to exaggerate because Obama's hypocrisy writes its own punchlines. The so-called man of the people morphed into a living caricature of elite indulgence. The professor of humility now lives like a billionaire celebrity. What makes it even worse is the smugness that never left. Obama still struts onto stages, wagging his finger at America, preaching about threats to democracy, as though he weren't part of the very rot himself.
You know, Peter Thiel was on Barry Weiss, a great podcast they did. He said, the last time identity politics worked was in 2008. It hasn't worked since 2008. 2008? He's saying Obama. And here's why he said it worked in 2008. He made such an interesting point. He said the reason why identity politics worked in 2008 was because Obama could go up there saying, I'm the black person you've been waiting to vote for. And then he can go and says, I don't care if you're white, black, Hispanic, straight, gay, well, you know, and then he would go to, and the reason why he could get away with it in 2008 was because social media wasn't yet at a point where things would go instant and you'd be held.
He cast himself as the wise elder statesman, the calm voice of reason, the one man who truly understands the moment. But as Rogan points out, Obama doesn't understand it, he created it. He birthed the shallow politics of performance, the influencer presidency, the endless carousel of speeches without solutions. Bet-David digs even deeper into the illusion. Obama was never a revolutionary, he was a master marketer. His true talent wasn't leadership, it was self-promotion. He perfected the branding of politics, crafting an aura that made voters feel inspired while delivering next to nothing. His presidency didn't uplift working Americans, it betrayed them. Wall Street thrived. Elites flourished. Silicon Valley exploded with wealth. But ordinary families watched jobs disappear, wages stagnate, and costs skyrocket. Obama's America worked wonders for the powerful and crushed the rest. He turned his presidency into a personal brand, and when the White House lights went out, he cashed in. He isn't remembered for bold reforms or world-changing decisions. He's remembered for speeches, slogans, and the carefully manufactured image of being cool. But cool doesn't feed families, doesn't secure borders, doesn't prevent wars, doesn't restore faith in government. Cool always fades, and when it did, Obama stood exposed as little more than an empty suit dressed in rhetoric.
Do you remember when they gave that speech, when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, fuck this? Mm-hmm. And then they go, it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up and stopped a war from happening.
Today, I authorize the Armed Forces of the United States
to begin a limited military action in Libya in support of an international effort to protect Libyan civilians.
The myth of Obama was always fragile, and Rogan and Bet-David don't just poke holes in it, they obliterate it. They strip away the glow and show the man behind the teleprompter, a politician who failed to deliver. Behind the branding was weakness. Behind the smile was ambition, not to transform America, but to secure his own place in history. Obama didn't save the nation, he sold it a product. And like every overhyped product, once the shine wore off, the defects were impossible to ignore. In the end, Obama doesn't stand as the towering figure he imagined. He stands as a warning. Charisma is not competence, speeches are not solutions, branding is not leadership. Rogan and Bet-David expose him not as the savior of a generation, but as the salesman who peddled hope, delivered disappointment, and walked away wealthier than ever. The illusion is shattered, the myth is dead, and what remains is the hollow truth. Barack Obama was never the leader America needed, just the performer it fell for. Rogan and Bet-David drive home the point that Obama's legacy isn't merely weak, it's empty, a monument to style over substance.
And Biden got lucky.
Yeah.
It was such a profound moment. Meaning, now what took place? Guess who lost all credibility in the room behind closed doors when everybody's waiting to see what he and she have to say? Guess who they are? Barack Obama and Hillary and Michelle.
Michelle.
You used to sit in a room and you'd say something Schumer, you'd say something Pelosi, you'd say something Hillary, you'd say something Bill, you'd say something. Everybody's like, Brock, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
The last one you go to, right? And I was like, hey, you guys just go live at your Martha's Vineyard type of stuff.
Yeah.
Your strategy didn't.
The aura of intellectual brilliance Obama cultivated wasn't about strategy, it was about survival. He surfed a wave of charisma, but when the tide went out, the coastline of failure lay bare. His presidency left America divided, his promises unkept, and a country struggling to remember what he stood for beyond clever slogans. Hope and change aged into pure irony. Rogan and Bet-David don't spare his post-presidency either. The $1 million speaking fees, the Netflix deals, the beachfront mansion paired with climate lectures, all of it reeks of a man cashing in on his brand the moment he left office. Obama wasn't trying to transform America. He was building a personal empire. And the Democratic Party paid the price. He could inspire crowds, but he couldn't build a machine. When he walked away, he left the party gutted, leaderless, and addicted to his image. Every chaotic election cycle since has been proof of that failure. That's the Obama legacy, a party dazzled by his reflection, but crippled without his presence, and still unsure how it all fell apart.
The volume and go full screen.
What you know now, do you wish you had a third term? You know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
We know he wasn't really running the country.
Yeah.
We used to think he was actually running the country, and now they're like, no, he didn't even see those executive orders. That was all auto-pen.
Obama's second term, he did none. Obama's first term, I think he did one. And Bush's first and second term, he did none on day one. This guy's come out the gates. One moment he's talking to World Economic Forum. Another second you're looking at him, he's talking to California, chewing out, Bass and Mayor Bass and talking to the folks there. Next minute he's in Vegas talking about no tax on tips. Next minute you're seeing him talking to military folks. Next minute you're seeing him on the media.
Bet-David takes it even further, likening Obama to a master salesman who sealed the deal yet never delivered the promised product. The packaging was immaculate, the wrapping flawless, the pitch perfectly rehearsed, but inside there was nothing of real value. Americans eagerly bought in, only to discover they'd been swindled by the most talented political marketer of modern times. He transformed the presidency into pure performance, a never-ending TED Talk on steroids where applause counted more than genuine achievement. Together, they shred the illusion that Obama was some untouchable statesman. In reality, he embodied style over substance, a man who could captivate celebrities, dominate late-night comedy circuits, and earn glossy magazine covers, yet repeatedly stumbled when real governing demanded results. His effortless charm may have secured flattering history books, but history itself will not remain generous when measured by hard outcomes. Strip away the spin and branding, and the failures glare too brightly to dismiss. Rogan, for his part, refuses to let the hypocrisy slide for even a second.
Kamala!
Hello. Hi.
Hey there!
Hi.
Aw, hi, you're both together.
Come on.
It's good to
How many
see
times has she done that walk? What do you think?
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness. The words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express.
And we're going to have some fun.
You both.
Say it.
It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this
That's
too.
right. So obviously, she's not a professional actress. Probably did 10, 20, 30 takes. This is a business of can't stand each other behind closed doors.
The so-called champion of the underdog never hesitated to mingle with the very elites he once claimed to oppose, vacationing with billionaires and thriving comfortably in the same privileged circles he pretended to challenge. His version of leadership was never truly about lifting ordinary people upward. It was about ensuring his own permanent seat at the table of power. And perhaps the most ironic part is how even his celebrated speeches now feel painfully outdated. The same carefully timed pauses, the same practiced cadences, the same over-rehearsed punchlines. They no longer inspire awe. What once dazzled now feels like tired reruns of a show that lost its primetime shine long ago. The magic act has expired, leaving only a fading memory of what seemed like brilliance but now appears to be well-packaged trickery. By the time Rogan and Bet-David finished dismantling his legacy, the towering image of Obama is gone. In its place stands a man whose greatest accomplishment was persuading millions he was far more than he truly was, a man who promised sweeping transformation yet delivered grinding stagnation. He cast himself as larger than history, yet risks being remembered as nothing more than a fleeting brand, an overpriced illusion America has finally learned to see through. The final blow lands with force. Obama is not the political titan his admirers imagine. He's a textbook case of how image can overshadow substance for a while, but never forever, because the truth always surfaces, and no amount of branding can hide the hollow core of a legacy built entirely on appearance.